Hi guys, Samantha from Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create faux druzy. So there are lots of different types of druzy, and so today I'm going to be making black onyx druzy, and it's just something that I saw online where you basically had a black cabochon and silver druzy inside. Now, this was actually an idea that was inspired by a pendant I did recently. So maybe you've watched the tutorial where I used the glass glitter here, and I thought it looked so pretty, and so it reminded me of Druzy, and so I went and looked up Druzy and I found black onyx druzy, and so I think that this with black clay will look really nice. So let me just bring over some other druzy examples. Okay, so let me just bring over those examples. So here's the most common sort, where you find it inside a piece of agate. And this is an agate geode, and you'll see that the druzy is this nice sparkly bit inside here. And I might attempt to create this later, but it's obviously quite a bit more complicated because you've got to get all of these nice ribbons correct, and the druzy has to match your agate perfectly. So this is a bit more challenging. You also get these ones where it's got these lovely crystals on top, and this one's not as challenging, but you want your druzy to look quite realistic, so you can see that there's different colours in there, and so I'll attempt that maybe later on, but I'm going to have to end up making my own druzy. We can't use glass glitter for that. Here's another example of that. You can see how shiny and beautiful that is. Okay. So we're going to go with black onyx druzy, which is fairly simple. So you're going to need some black polymer clay, and this was rolled out on my thickest setting, which is about 4mm thick. And I'm just going to stack them so that now I have some that's around 8mm thick. Okay, and now I'm just going to bring over a plain piece of printing paper. And I'm going to burnish it because I want it to have a nice smooth top, because the onyx is polished to absolute perfection. So that needs to be perfect. Okay, and the best way to get it nice and shiny is to eliminate all bumps and things like that. So burnishing with some printing paper will do a pretty good job. There we are. Okay. Now you want to choose your shape, and I'm going to be going with this oval. I'm going to distort the oval shape just a little bit later, but I'm going to be using the largest oval from my oval set. You're also going to need some cling wrap, and I've just got some off to the side here. Now just unravel that and lay that over the top, because I just want a slightly domed edge. So the trick here is to get this to lay down flat. So just try your best to get it to lay down flat. There we go. Okay, now I'll take my piece, my cutter, and I'll just press down, and it's going to give you a slightly domed edge, which is exactly what I want. Just remove the cling wrap. I'll remove that from situation 2, and you're going to need to pick off your cling wrap. This bit can be a little delicate getting it off, because you don't want to touch your clay on the surface, so you have to get it off from around the edges, because if you touch your clay you're going to end up getting fingerprints and things like that. There we are. Now gently smooth. Okay. Now we're going to use some ball tools. Just gonna lift this up first before we do this. Okay, and we're going to do it from the opposite side. We're going to be moulding it. And I'm actually just going to use a large piercing pin for this. And I'm just going to roll along these edges so that I get it kind of uneven. It still has a rough oval shape, but it's going to have a more organic edge to it. Now flip it over and smooth down to make sure that it's stuck to the tile. And I'm just rolling along. And you can make some really nice big dents, or you can make smaller dents. It's completely up to you. And you might want to try this a few times before you get a piece that you actually like. Because you might make a dent that's too big and then you don't like it. So mess around with it, try and make a few, and then take the one that you like best and then put the other ones back in your packet of clay. Because you're not working on multiple colours here, so if you make a few, it's not going to cost you anything. Okay, once we've done that, I'm just going to use my roller to flatten it out. I've just got this one edge here that I'm not happy with. Okay, bring over that cling wrap again. And I'm going to press down on the edges of the cling wrap near here so that I am doming the edge. You can use your fingers and press and gently curl, and this will dome your piece. And gently rub around the edges as well, and this will keep all of your dents and things like that, but it's going to dome it as well. It's going to smooth out some of the dents. It's going to make them a little less jagged, which is something that I do want. Just smooth your finger along the edge. I'm just trying to get a nice dome. I'm not trying to get a very heavy dome. I'm just trying to get a nice even dome that's just slight enough for you to notice it. Okay, and then we'll remove our cling wrap, smooth over, and our goal is to try and keep this as smooth as possible. Pick that up, and I want to pin to this side here, and I'm just going to use my finger and I'm gently going to smooth. Inward, so that I also create a very slight dome, or just a beveled edge actually is more like what I'm doing here. Just creating a slight beveled edge. Okay, and then we're going to work on a piece of paper so that this back can be smooth while we're working. So this is the front part that we're smoothing, and the back in the meantime is getting the paper to smooth it out on the back. I've just got some slight edges here. Okay, and this is going to be our form, so I'm just making sure that's as smooth as I can possibly get it. I'm trying to get rid of any scratches that might be there. There's a little bit of a scratch there, because this has to be glass-like at the end, and the only way to do that is to get it as smooth as humanly possible. There we go. Now bring over some ball tools, and we want to mark out the middle here. So I'm going to start with a smaller tool here, and I think the Druzy is going to start there, and it's going to curve around and end about there. I'm just busy kind of mapping this out. Okay, so now you can see basically where the Druzy is going to start and where it's going to end. It's going to sit in the middle of the pendant like that. Okay, now I'll go with your ball tool, a larger one, and press out this section. You want it to be a hole. So start with a smallish one so that you have control, and then you can go over to a larger piece. Okay, and this is a little bit time consuming. Don't try scooping this stuff out. Just press and continue pressing over and over and over again until you get a cave, or not a cave, a crevice in the clay. And you want to kind of have the middle bit the deepest part and then go out towards the sides. And this kind of hammered metal look will be quite nice too, so don't worry about that. You do want a nice large one, so the ball tool marks that you made before, smooth them out with the larger ball tool. And then just continue pressing. You can see that we're kind of making some headway there. And you can actually rub with your ball tool. That can also help you hollow it out. You can go towards the sides. Anything to make that cavity. But don't touch beyond where you marked out with those ball tools. You've got to keep that perfectly smooth. Just marking out this area. So I'll continue doing that until I've got a fairly nice large indent. Okay, so here it is. Let me just pick this up and tilt it so that you can see, hopefully, there we go, what that looks like. It's a nice good spot. And then I've gone around and I've just smoothed the sides, because these sides, again, I can't stress this enough, need to be so smooth. Okay. Then if you have a look on the back, you'll see that it's taken on the paper marks, so that will be nice and easy to sand later. So just do a final check, see if you can find any scratches. Smudges are fine, that's easy to get, but anything that's going to be relatively hard for you to sand off, get rid of now. So you can spend half an hour on this and you'll get a better result with your sanding than if you spent half an hour sanding. So rather spend your time here than later. It'll be less frustrating too. And I'm just going to rub out those fingerprints that I got from handling me. Okay, so we're not going to put the glass glitter in here right now, because the risk is that when we sprinkle it in here, we're going to end up having glass glitter around the edges. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to bake this now for about 45 minutes at Primo's recommended temperature, and then we're going to use liquid clay instead, and that will be just a lot safer instead of using it right now. So bake it on this piece of paper, and then I'll come back when it's finished baking. Okay, so these are out of the oven now, and one I have sanded because I made another one, and you can see how nice and shiny that is. And now I might possibly put liquid clay on the outside here. I'm busy debating on whether or not, so I'm probably going to sand this one. We'll see how shiny it is, and then I might leave one sanded and put one with translucent liquid clay over the top, and then you can see what the difference is. So let's get to sanding this one. I'm going to be using my polishing papers, and I'm going to start with my 400 grit. And I'm just going to sand the outside here. And I'm going to really make sure that I give it a good sand. And then I'm going to go from my 400 all the way up through my grits until I reach my 8000. And then we'll give it a buff to see what it looks like. And then I'll put liquid clay on the one. And we'll leave this one buffed, and then we can attach our glass glitter to it. So just make sure you spend plenty of time sanding this. Okay, so they've both been sanded. This one has already been buffed, so hopefully you can see the difference here between sanded and buffed. So now we're going to buff this, and I'm just going to be using this handheld rotary tool. And now I'm using my own buffing wheels. If you want to get buffing wheels like this, you can find them on my Etsy shop, Jessica Design, and I'll leave a link to that in the links below. Brush that off, and there we are. You can see what that looks like, nice and shiny. Now I'm going to coat this one with liquid clay because I think this one shines better. I'm happy with this one shine. So this one I'll coat with liquid clay. And now if you want to see that part of the tutorial, I do have that on Patreon on the $5 level. Okay, and so here is what it looks like now that it's been coated with liquid clay. You can see that it is quite different from this one. It's a lot more shiny, and so it's completely up to you to which technique you would prefer for the outside. You can't really tell which one you like best until you have put the Druzy. So let's get to that part because that's the fun part. Now just make sure that this is completely cool before you put the Druzy in. So that one's still a little hot. This one will be fine. So I'm just busy pouring out some translucent liquid clay. My bottle's almost done. There we go. Okay. And also get your ice resin flakes ready. And I'm going to open that away. You can see how lovely and sparkly that is. And then use a brush to brush your liquid clay in, because you want to be quite precise where your liquid, when it comes to where your liquid clay is going. You don't want it going over the sides. So you want a fairly thick layer, and I'm just trying to get rid of these little pieces there because they were in the way. You want a fairly thick layer of liquid clay. So just go slowly, make sure you do this bit properly because the liquid clay will stay nice and wet. You don't have to hurry. But it is important that you get this bit right. And you want a fairly thick layer so that the glass glitter will stick to it. Got a little bit there. If you find a little bit goes over the edge, you can always just gently wipe it away. So long as you haven't accidentally gone over too much, it should be fine for you to wipe it away. You could also use resin if you wanted to, but the problem with using resin is that you can, if the resin doesn't cure very quickly, you can find that the ice resin flakes will actually slide down and these areas over here won't have the ice resin flakes. So it's another way of doing it, but it can prove problematic sometimes. So there we go, now that I've done the edges, gonna go around in the middle, get a nice coat. Now it's important you don't put too thick a layer because you want the liquid clay to stick where it is. You don't want it all sliding all over the place. You want it to stay in one place. There we go. Okay, put that aside. Wipe up this because you don't want that in the way. And that was translucent liquid clay that I used because I don't want it to affect my look. Now I'm just going to grab a plain piece of paper because I'm going to tip the ice resin flakes on here, and so it's going to go all over the place, and so I need a piece of paper that I can just scoop it back in. You can see it's going all over this, and you can see why it would prove a bit of a problem if our clay was raw. We'd have ice resin flakes going all over the place. And also this is why I have sanded my clay beforehand, because I don't want to have to sand it after this because the flakes will get in the way. Okay, I'll just gently tap it clear and just remove any that are on the outskirts that you're not happy with. Like there, I don't want that one. Whoops, that was a mistake. I'll clean that up in a minute. Okay, don't blow, because your stuff will go everywhere. And then just gently wipe along the sides, and then that's your Druzy piece. So it looks quite nice. And because you've tipped it out like that, the flakes will sit up and they'll look quite interesting. Just make sure that you've got it all right and you're happy with how it looks and with the edges and things before you put it in the oven. Like, I don't really want these flakes sitting over the edge here, so I'm just moving them inward. There we go. Let's see if I can. There we go. Okay. Let's do one final tap to make sure I get rid of everything. And then I'm going to go pop that in the oven for about 45 minutes. And I'll do this one as well. Okay. So these are out of the oven now. And this one is ready for me to string and do a hole and things. This one I've already strung. You can see how that looks now. It's got a nice bail. It's all nice and shiny. And I've left the back nice and matte and smooth while the side is all shiny. Now, a quick option for you guys, if you don't like the solid silver look, you can always use some alcohol ink to colour the silver. That's always an option for you. It's gonna, I mean, this isn't exactly realistic, to be honest. It's kind of a play on Faux Onyx Druzy, but you can play around with it and see what colours you can do, because you can play around with those alcohol inks and they'll look quite nice. So anyway, let's get to this one. I've already buffed it again because when it comes out the oven it's going to be a little bit plain. I'm just going to grab my drill, position it in the spot that I want, and then start drilling. There we go. And then just drill through, make sure that you've got everything. Clean up there, clean up there. Okay, then I'll bring over a jumpring, and this is a nice large silver jumpring. And just pop that through. Might need a little bit of working to get through, depending on how thick our piece is. Okay. Oops. I bent this one by accident. Let me try again. There we go, it's going through. There we go. You just have to work it through a little bit. It can be a little fiddly at first. Okay. Now, this druzy over here is a little delicate, the top surface layers anyway. So just like normal druzy, you want to be careful when you touch it. You don't really want to be going and scraping. I mean, you can touch it and it's not going to do anything. You might want to go around and just tap to get any excess off, like there's a few excess pieces here. But the parts that are stuck to the liquid clay will stick, but it is delicate, so it's not something that you want to be going and handling it or roughhouse and things like that. Just like you would a normal piece of druzy. Close that jump ring and twist it round so that that closure is inside your bail, like that. Then you can use a piece of chain, or in this case I'm thinking that the rubber cord will look quite nice for this. Just string that through and it'll be a nice, easy, cute project. And this is one that you probably could do with kids. You might want to do the glitter part for them though, because that bit you probably won't want them getting their hands on. But all of the bits, misshaping it and getting this bit all finished, you might want to just smooth it off for them and maybe do the liquid clay part for them and the glass glitter bits, but all the shaping, the black bits and things, so it might be a nice project to do with the kids if you have them around, because it doesn't require too much accuracy on the part of the moulding the clay. Now, when it comes to fingerprints, the liquid clay will cover up the fingerprints. So if you do plan to use the liquid clay, you don't even have to worry about them getting their fingerprints all over it. So anyway, that's basically it for this project. It's a little different from the ones that I have done recently. It's a little bit more on the sparkly bold side, so for some of you you might not like it, some of you might like it. I'm trying to do a bunch of different things, so if you'd like me to go more into this kind of sparkly side of things, let me know. If you don't like it, then just tell me and I'll continue doing the stuff that I normally do. And so I do hope that the tutorial was helpful to you and that you'll be able to use the techniques shown in different projects so that you can come up with your own different cool projects and use it in all sorts of other things. And so I do hope it was helpful to you, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.